Music is music. It doesn't matter whether it's improvised music or composed music or classical music. The same elements are at play. We're dealing with communication through sound. When you can express emotion through sound and do it in a way that is representative of the context you're in. So there's no boundary lines between genres. My concept of what music could be was super broad from a really early age. Going all the way back to the beginning, I was always around music. My dad is a musician and my mom is an avant-garde vocalist. And both of them were involved with music that was at the front line of innovation. So from the time that I was tiny, I was around music that would seem strange to most people. It just seemed normal to me. When I was 4 years old, I started playing the piano. And then when it was time to join the school band, my dad had a trumpet from his days in the high school marching band and got good pretty quickly. And it felt like something that I could be really proud of. In the beginning, I was really inspired by classical music. By the time I was leaving college, I was less interested in playing in an orchestra full time and more interested in pursuing various forms of contemporary music. And I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know what kind of a career that was going to lead to, but I knew I was searching for something more, something different than the sort of tried and true orchestral trumpet path. Fast forward 10 or 15 years down the line, and I find myself, integrated into the creative music scene in Los Angeles in a way that is really inspiring. And all the while, I never let go of the classical thing. So I was able to work, I was able to gig in Los Angeles and do it at a fairly high level. All of the pedals that I use is actually a fairly recent addition to my performance setup. It's exciting to kind of get into a new territory and feel confident that the source that I'm giving it is what I want, that I'm not trying to supplant any aspect of my trumpet playing with electronics. I'm just kind of trying to create something additional. There don't have to be any restrictions on what you can do with a career. You just do what you're inspired to do and see where the chips fall, And I'm very, very lucky in my life that I've been able to make it work so far. It was too much of a struggle to create all the various sounds that I wanted to create. So I started looking for other options. What I really think I'm looking for is something that will work in all these different situations, in my groups and more improvised music, as well as at studios for sessions and whatnot. Obviously, there's a big range of color and playing demands in those contexts. Equipment by itself never creates music, but it can certainly open up musical possibilities for an artist. One of the things in my own journey was that I felt like I took the previous mouthpiece that I played as far as I could take it in terms of the sonic range of possibilities. I'm really looking for something that feels like I can trust it in all of those situations and still has a nice blend between something that's like dark and warm and beautiful lyrical sound, but has also a little bit more consistent clarity out of the articulation and deepen the sound a little bit. So Curious if you have any ideas on how we might work on that.
When Dan first came in to kind of create something special for him, he had some issues kind of with what his sound was like. He was coming into new demands in his playing, particularly with recording, where he was looking for something that was more clean, more immediate.
Really what I want to be able to do is, in the same day, same, session even, go from, you know, really warm, jazzy kind of thing, like, to, that bright kind of Hollywood studio
right.
sound.
Yeah.
Each player that comes through the door is unique. Their sound is their fingerprint, it's their thumbprint. And we pride ourselves in being able to help whoever walks through the door. So when Dan approached us to work on a custom mouthpiece, it was the perfect opportunity. One, because he had been a customer for so long, and we respect his playing and his artistry, that it was just a great fit. One of the great things about Dan and his music is he's been able to integrate electronics into his improvisation and his playing. He got to the point where he couldn't create what he wanted to create with the sound of the trumpet by itself. And likewise, it was the same thing with the equipment. The equipment got to the point where it was holding him back. He couldn't play around the horn the way he wanted to. So it's a great opportunity for us to take part in his evolution, to help him along his way, to give him a tool that's going to open up new doors, both in his playing and his creation.
I guess what I'm looking for is basically a mouthpiece that I don't notice. I just want it to make the sound that I want to make, and not feel like I have to play the mouthpiece, right? Just play the idea and let that, happen easily. So when we decided to dig in and collaborate on a mouthpiece design, it was a wonderful process where I would talk with John and Brett about what my artistic vision was for the sound and for what I wanted the mouthpiece to do, and what I specifically wanted to be able to do on the mouthpiece musically. And the real magic alchemy that goes into translating those ideas to a piece of metal is pretty incredible to witness and be a part of. That's the thing that always blows my mind, is like my intuitive assumptions about what like a blank would do, or what adding weight or subtracting weight or moving things in different ways, are almost always the inverse of what your experience of the sound is.
So what we do here at Bob Reeves Brass, it's listening to players, it's understanding what they need, and then also taking that and knowing what to change in a mouthpiece to create that effect for them.
And that's like what's so cool about dialing this in with you, is that like what I hear on this end is totally different than what you hear on that end.
It's not just being a musician or a machinist or a mouthpiece maker, it's all three of those all together. I kind of have a direction I think it'd be good for us to take. If we changed a little bit in the back bore, maybe a little bit more room in the cup might give us something that gives it the sound you're looking for. Early on, he was playing one of our stock mouthpieces that was working well for him and he was happy about it, but he needed something else. He needed something more. What he was using just wasn't quite cutting it anymore.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, like, trying to go for like both like a pillowy, cushy sound, but also something that has like super clear front articulation to it.
It's kind of dialing in that, finding that spot.
I guess what I'm looking for is like maximum creative flexibility.
I created something for him that kind of blended a sound he was looking to have, but then gave him a little bit more clarity in the response of the instrument.
Because he has to be so versatile as a player, the mouthpiece we created together with him is a really special thing, because trumpet playing is getting more and more diverse and difficult. The demands of a modern trumpet player, you don't just show up and play one type of music, even in an orchestra. So the boom mouthpiece that we created with Dan is phenomenal.
Brett was able to take what I could describe sonically and come up with ideas about how to map that onto the equipment in a way that got closer to what I was looking for. It makes me feel like there's nothing there, and that's what I really want out of equipment. When I'm improvising or when I'm playing written music or recording or performing, I don't want to notice the equipment. I want the ideas to flow freely.
One of the best things of working with Dan was, I mean, honestly, is finding a solution for him and creating something that really did work for him. And that's kind of a really satisfying feeling when I do something to a mouthpiece and it creates the result that I know that he wanted.
Being able to work with a company like Bob Reeves, who has such a long history of developing, a really wonderful range of mouthpieces, allowed me to feel confident that we would arrive somewhere that felt like this is it.